welcome back to World This Morning. This is Shazad Khan. I am Shaza Hashmi, and today we are making career choices. Yes, well, in the first segment, we tried to learn how to go about choosing a career path, and I think in this one, we are narrowing it down to learning architecture for that matter. To begin with, I just want to say that we were talking about the job market, how hard it is definitely to implement what you studied in Pakistan in the economy like this, which is, by the way, improving. So I happen to know someone who studied architecture from one of the best universities in Pakistan, ended up working as a cashier at Zara, which is, I'm not judging, I'm just saying they have an amazing mind and an amazing degree, but nowhere to work. So this is something that does bother me with this,
and there's a reason, Shiza, why they do not have a place to work, and that is that, alhamdulillah, we're in Pakistan, for all of those people who are civil engineers or engineers, what they do is that, for example, we have a take-a system over there, and then, you give it to somebody else, and then that person is going to come in, and, there's this specific name for that gentleman who actually takes this take-a, by the master sahab or whatever. And then, he is the one who's actually going to run everything around as well. But now, alhamdulillah, things are changing, and that engineers are not going to design everything by themselves, and they're bringing in newer people, they're bringing in architects, they're bringing in people who have specific knowledge about architecture as well. And this is, I'm happy that Pakistanis are finally kind of thinking about this. Now today, ladies and gentlemen, we are actually going to share such a business model with you as well, where we're going to talk about whether being an architect in Pakistan is going to be fruitful or pay your bills as well. Not just that, this entrepreneur who has actually happened to have joined us today as well is the one who has actually hired principal architects for his firm, so that they kind of work in a very colossal way, and that everybody kind of does their job, what they're supposed to do. So it's not just going to be the thekedar or per square feet, anji kya rate chal raha hai falana, all of those things what Pakistanis do over here. But I'm happy that we are kind of sharing their story with you guys as well, because they kind of want to work very professionally as well. Ladies and gentlemen, he happens to be an engineer, he's an entrepreneur himself. He is Mr. Yasar Maqsood. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Ji, walaikum assalam. How are you? Kaise hain aap?
Absolutely perfect. And Mr. Yasar, ladies and gentlemen, has been outside Pakistan for a longer period of time. He's worked abroad as well, which is why he's bringing the best practices to Pakistan. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me here and giving me an opportunity to explain that how is this architectural philosophy can be implemented in Pakistan.
Exactly.
Because there is a lot of scope and there's a lot of room for the architectural work and the good quality construction work here in Pakistan.
Which is why, I'm not going to introduce the second guest, who's sitting actually right next to you, which is why I want you to kind of tell us when was there's this need you felt that, okay, you know what, I really need to hire an architect for my firm so that we can have those best practices.
Actually, I...
And who is your architect? Please introduce yourself.
Ms. Afroz Khan is our principal architect. She's the residential head of our company. She's dealing with all the designs which our company makes. And I worked abroad for 13-14 years, right? Basically, I'm an engineer. I'm not an architect. But it was always in my mind that there should be proper phenomena of construction in Pakistan. Normally, it is seen that whenever the people they have to do the construction, they hired some contractor, right? And the contractor says, go to etc. architect, get the designs and then give it to me, right? And when the customers go to the architects, they do not have this construction facility to them. So I basically came up with an idea that there should be a design and construction concept in-house, right? So I started working on that formula, and initially it was tough because people were not accepting these concepts, because in the societies or in the market there are already architects working, and the architects work by their own name, right? And when the architects design the projects, for instance the houses, they could not implement sometimes exactly on the ground, because there is a gap of the communication and the links between the construction and the architectural designs. So we actually started working on this concept. So I made an in-house design department, and my company also has the in-house construction department, right? So we actually, whenever the customers come to us, we discuss with the customer in detail what is the requirements of the customer, whether it's the residential or it's the commercial.
Exactly.
Right?
I truly get that, but your boss has taken a lot of time today explaining his business model, which is wonderful. But the pros coming down to you, for somebody being an architect and that too in-house, where we are speaking about a business model which Yasar Maqsood sahab actually explained as of now. For architects, as he mentioned, that they want to go by their own name. For example, Nayyar Ali Dada Saab, and all of these people have made great names to themselves and great repute. There will be a time when you'll be like, okay, you know what, Yasir bhai, I think I've done enough work with you, and I probably want to go on my own journey. But before you answer that, how was it for you when you graduated from university and you were an architect, and was it difficult for you to kind of land into a job as well?
When I started working with Bluearc design and construction, it was very difficult, but people were very supportive and loving for me, और काफ़ी कुछ इन लोगों ने मुझे सिखाया.
So the environment was very friendly.
Environment was very friendly, और क्योंकि बहुत सारी चीज़ें थी सीखने के लिए, बहुत सारे कंस्ट्रक्शन प्रोजेक्ट्स हो रहे थे और डिज़ाइनर विलास बन रहे थे, तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें थी जिससे मैंने सीखा. और जो अभी हम लोग कर रहे हैं वर्किंग, वो सारी जो है वो उसमें वो सब चीज़ें मुझे, मतलब जब मैं यूनिवर्सिटी टाइम में थी, उस टाइम में हम लोग वो चीज़ें जो हैं वो नहीं बनाते, या वो चीज़ें, वो प्रैक्टिकलिटीज़ टेक्निकलिटीज़ हम लोगों को नहीं पता होती. तो वो सब चीज़ें जो हैं वो ब्लूआर्क में आके जो है वो मुझे पता लगी.
Wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, initially it was difficult for her to actually land a job, but eventually, alhamdulillah, when she actually joined Yasir Saab's company, it was quite a learning experience. Everybody was supportive over there. Alhamdulillah, they were designing designer villas, which I believe was wonderful. And she's kind of really happy with the organization she's working with, which is great. But sir, there's one more thing, and that is that, when you actually have a fresh graduate in your company, they're prone to making mistakes. And God forbid, if an architect makes a mistake, that can be really very costly as well. It truly depends on if it's a commercial project, and if 2 or 3 degrees angles are actually going somewhere else, it's going to cost you a lot of stuff. So how do you keep a balance in between that? Okay, you know what? Okay, we have a drawing. We need to send it to somebody to check whether there are any mistakes or not.
Actually, it's a very good question, right? Because the projects actually on grounds, they are like, even if we speak of the 5 mallas or 10 mallas house, right? It's costing in a good society more than 30 millions, right? And the projects are expensive projects, and these projects, just I'm at the moment referring only to the residential projects, the houses, right? And people have collected the money, gathered the money, spending all their lives. So you cannot just experiment on the fresh graduates, right? If there is a blunder, the whole project will be destroyed. So in that particular case, the very good thing that actually the philosophy and phenomena in our company that has polished the architects a lot. We are just not the architectural company, we are design and construction company. A lot of construction projects are also going on, right? So we actually keeps the regular visits and tours of the architects working with us on the construction sites. So actually they see the actual concepts, they see the on-ground construction, they see the practicalities, they see the bylaws, how these bylaws are implemented on ground. So that's why there are very our architects are not those hypothetical architects or the bookish kind of architects or the theoretical architects or the very intense creative architects. What they make is cannot be implemented on the ground. So this is what has helped us to create our practical architecture.
And this is something which I wanted to pick up on as well, and thank you very much that you kind of pointed that the direction of our conversation that way. Because when you're working with a company, this is something which I'm asking you. When you're working with a company obviously will have its own limitations. They're not going to go beyond this budget, and they're going to stick by that as well, and they'll be like, okay, you really do not have to be so creative, just do whatever we want you to do. Number one. So how do you go about it? Number two, you know, when we come down to, you know, budget restrictions, I don't know, it's the irony. Every time we get a call, you know, for a show as well, sir, budget nahi hai. You know,
Budget
this is
nahi.
something
Ah.
everybody's going to say. It's always on everybody's mouth as well. So how do you kind of convince your bosses that, sir, you know what, because whenever we talk about architect, I mean, imagine if we talk about Europe now, if we talk about any other country, you know, they're rich in architecture, is because of the fact that they kind of invested in it, right? We, one way or the other, Pakistanis are not even talking about that there is a creative side to architecture that is going to live for more than 100 or 200 years till the time those buildings are going to stand.
Right.
So why not add that value? Number two. So please, can you answer these two questions? One, you know, budget restrictions, just because they do not want you to be more creative, it's going to cost the company. Number two, do you realize that, you know, this architecture is going to stay with the country or with this place for a longer period of time, and this will reflect our value in the coming future?
मटेरियल्स में वो अकॉर्डिंग टू बजट यूज़ करते हैं.
ठीक है.
मतलब जो आपके डिफरेंट मटेरियल्स हैं ना, उसमें मटेरियल्स में बिल्कुल वो टाइप्स आती हैं. ठीक है, उस टाइप्स को हम लोग अकॉर्डिंग टू वेदर कंडीशन और जो भी बजट कंस्ट्रेंट्स होते हैं उसके अकॉर्डिंगली यूज़ करके जो है वो चीज़ों को एस्थेटिकली अपीलिंग और इकोनॉमिकल बनाते हैं. इसमें एक और चीज़ भी है कि ऐसा नहीं होता कि आपका बिल्कुल लो कॉस्ट बजट हो और उसमें आप चीज़ जो है वो मज़े की बनाने की कोशिश करें. ऑब्वियसली आपको बजट एक लिमिट तक रखना होता है जिससे आपको चीज़ जो है वो बेहतर तरीके से मिल सके.
That's true. Well,
I'll just like to add one line over here.
Yes.
You know, I normally say to my clients that it's not the money that makes your house beautiful, it's the concepts that makes your house beautiful.
Exactly.
But do they believe it?
Yeah, they believe it. Okay. You know, in our designs there are actually the concepts in the house. We do the designer conceptual houses.
Okay.
Right? For instance, if the window of a room is opening into a patio, right, and outside the patio there is sunlight, there is rain falling, so this is not something that can be achieved very like costly.
We get that.
Yeah, this is a simple concept, but you cannot replace it with the expensive interior as well.
Yeah.
So we have to play with the concepts.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's wonderful, sir. We're very short on time. So one last question very quickly.
Oh,
My
I have
producer
so many
is continuously
questions.
saying that we have to wrap it up. And that is, let me put it the other way around as well. You know, so people come up with the, you know, since it's a dream to make our own house as well. And you know, that's how it's being
save
marketed
their
over here in
lives.
Pakistan. So imagine that, you know, people coming to you be like, yeah, you know, we have 5-6 million only. But we want a swimming pool and a movie theater. And you know, ख्वाहिशात जो होती है लोगों की. How do you take care of that?
You know, right now, as I mentioned earlier, we are not only the architectural firm, we are also the construction company. We are also the developers as well. We are handing over the designer villas, which are exclusively our own products of the Bluearc, on the installment basis. And in these projects we have incorporated the pools, we have incorporated home theaters.
Wow.
And one of the projects at the moment we are carrying out, it's on the hilltop, and it's actually, we have named that project as the terraces. Terraces, it has 8 to 9 terraces, which has the complete view of Islamabad. We have incorporated the infinity pool in that.
Is it in the suburbs somewhere or in the main city?
I think it's just
it's
on our way towards Murray, I guess.
No, it's in the Bahria Hills. Last point I would like to mention here.
Yes.
You know, the same concepts which we have discussed for all during the discussion about the residential, the same goes in the commercials as well, you know.
Oh, okay.
We are also doing the commercials, and due to the reason the government has given the amnesty at the moment, a lot of architectural construction activities going on.
Sir, thank you very much for saying that. I'm really sorry that we're very short on time as well, but inshallah in future we will talk about in detail as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you can always log on to the internet and check about Bluearc as well. But please make sure that you write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
Well This Morning.
on Twitter, Daily Motion GT.
Everything Well This Morning.
Yeah, and the fabulous repeat is going to be at
5 past midnight.
till the next time. Look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.